So calling the meeting to order at 1:03 or 4. Going to accept the agenda as written. It's a short one. And there are no minutes or anything else to approve yet. So I think we can go right into the first order of business. Oh no, I got to read the script. I knew I was skipping something. Okay, so this is Mickey Rowland, Chair of the Historic Structures Advisory Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Lucy.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
And Angus.
Here.
No staff and no public speakers anticipated. This is an open meeting of the Historic Structures Advisory Board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter of the Acts of 2021. For this meeting, HSAB is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Participants may find information on the conduct of this meeting at that location. Note this meeting is being recorded and all votes are taken by roll call, if there are any. All right, now we can go on to business number 1. So I'll share my screen. This will be 9 Prospect Street. It's a shingle. That's not it. This is it. So they want to change from 3-tab to architectural shingles. They want to go to Moire or Moire black. Oh, Certainty. Okay, so the address is 9 Prospect. It's right down by the corner of Joy. It's one of those little 3 bays. Right here. And here. That's all we got. So any thoughts about 3-tab versus architectural? This is coming up a lot these days.
I think we talked about this last meeting, that we just want to stay consistent with not doing architectural shingle in the OHD.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think, I think we're just, sorry?
What's the age? I think the other one was the 1920s. About this one is got to be 19th century.
Doesn't give anything.
I don't know. Let's see. Doesn't say. Oh, oops, sorry.
I don't think I don't think we have that information, but it's pretty old.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate.
No.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty consistent with this, and I've got a feeling we're just going to get overridden because I think the HTC just thinks they're okay. Diane, what's the latest the HTC has been doing for this kind of application?
Unfortunately, they have approved several of them. I do not approve them in the old historic district, but they do.
Yeah. So I think that's the way this is probably going to go. Moire black, again, it's we've seen this before. I'm not, is that a solid black or is it like
No, it's a moire is with other little color things through it.
Okay, so it's
Like
a model.
moire silk. It has a mixture, not a big one, but it's not a solid black.
Okay, there used to be something called dual black, and I don't know if that's, and that was, I would thought that was kind of gray, but
Yeah, the dual black is grayer than the moire black is.
okay. All right, so I think what I'm hearing is that we all would probably mostly like to keep with 3 tabs. Are we concerned about the color at all?
If it's blacker than the dual gray, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's one of the HTC approved colors out of all those colors.
Yeah.
It's the most used.
Lucy, any other thing to add?
No, I'm a shake roof person.
Yeah, me too, but so stick to 3 tab and the color is fine. All right, next is 36 Easton. This is Ethan McMorrow's project. And it generally there wasn't a whole lot to talk about on the original one, as I remember. Making some changes. And I think the biggest change, well, for one, he's adding these air conditioning units to the side. And then he's also putting in a second floor. Maybe the whole deck is new. He's adding some railing, which I'm guessing is this thing here, going around to the second floor. So here's the street side, north. You see the edge of this railing. It's a solid railing with kind of the top half of a, a crisscross pattern.
That stuck out to me.
Yeah, I kind of agree. That's the same thing.
Well, that house has got some weird roof issues anyway on that wing.
It does. So here's the AC platform, which has some solid boards. Where's the harbor side? I think is this. no,
But
this-
the AC platform won't be visible from the street. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, definitely not from the street. Here's the harbor view. And definitely visible from the harbor. And here's that pretty large change, which is this big deck and railing. Now there's railing over here too.
Has the deck been approved and we're just looking at the railing, or is the deck all, is a new thing?
I think this one above it is what was previously approved. And there's
Okay.
not there at all. I'll look at the floor plan again.
My concern about that railing, I mean, it's unusual and I don't think that it's appropriate, but I don't think it meets code. And then what happens? Is there like plexiglass behind it to bring it up to code? Is there some other kind of, fence or mesh, or I think it's problematic.
Yep.
So
I don't know if he's giving us any precedent for that style railing. To be honest, I don't know that I've ever seen that anywhere before.
Well,
mm,
Mickey, can you zoom in on that back, just go back and zoom in on the harbor side view,
Yeah.
the color photograph.
Oh, color photograph of the
'Cause
harbor.
I don't have a drawing that I can see of as is that. See, there's a,
It's a pretty big change. I mean, it's a big deck wrapping around this thing. I'm not sure I mind this thing to the side, but
what the deck does is, in a way, it mitigates an almost flat roof,
Drew,
but I'm not sure how much I like the rail, the deck going all the way out to the edge, but it's almost like the further out it goes, the more flat roof it covers and sort of makes it, maybe improves it.
I'm not so sure I minded the flat, well, here it is, the flat roof as much as I mind. I think, to me, I think I'd rather see this flat roof than this much balcony decking. I don't think I would mind a little bit. I'm just wondering how we could sort of make that lesser.
Well, if the deck could stop, at that west corner, instead of the wraparound.
Yeah,
And a pitched roof could be articulated there that would sort of go from the windowsill height down to the eave. To articulate that outside corner, I guess the southwest corner, as a pitched roof, and then another deck could go off of the west side, but basically not having a deep wraparound deck that goes out to every eave.
so they would obviously, I thought you were gonna say to eliminate all of this decking here, but you're just saying to separate them, maybe have a separate deck here and a separate railing here, so it doesn't wrap around.
Yeah,
If you look at one of the old photographs, the 1905 one, if you zoom in, you can see that it has that, it
Here?
has that railing. No, above, go above. Yeah, right there. You can see it's got that railing. That's where he's picked up the idea. But he doesn't have the shingle part.
Yeah, so this is sort of a crossbuck below it, I guess. Just got some angled stuff. I can't really see what's going on.
it's really hard to see, but there could be like a half sawbuck happening up at the top, but that's like taking an element and
Yeah,
adding it to something else. Like there's only an eave below that. There isn't a wall.
I just think what he's proposing is like half of a railing and the bottom half is missing. So to me, it looks awkward,
Yeah.
this zigzaggy thing. I mean, I'd almost rather see little X's, but that might get too busy.
Got a lot going on there.
Yeah,
The flavor has changed so much since that earlier photo. That
mhm.
I'm not sure how appropriate bringing it back is unless you follow through. I mean, it's shown above an open porch and everything here is closed in
Mhm.
below and above the railing and the first floor walls. That was almost like a decorative detail around the porch.
It's almost like a balustrade kind of on the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too dissimilar to the neighbor to the west,
Yeah, over here.
where it's an open porch below and then it's like a decorative balustrade above.
This looks, it's hard to tell, but it almost looks too low to be a real railing.
No, it's not. I mean, they're windows. There isn't a door going out there.
Well, is this a door in the middle? I don't know. Can't really tell.
I don't think so. I think that railing in the top is just frosting for a somewhat ornate porch like the neighbors.
Well, to hide the shallow pitched roof too, probably.
Yeah, I mean, look at the neighbor to the left. They've got the
Look
same,
at the gingerbread detail.
yeah, all this Victorian stuff.
Mhm. Well, they sure had a lot of decks and balconies back then.
I wasn't looking at the floor plan when I was making that suggestion about the about two separate decks, but that waterside room would have access to the single deck.
If you put
Yeah,
it-
if they open that up, not that I'm advocating, a set of French doors, but if a single door could happen there or something, they could get access to that waterfront deck.
I think the wraparound to me is a problem.
The wraparound part, I think, is the issue.
Yeah. And if you could come up with just a, give it back to him, just a plan to make these decks smaller and not wrap around.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would go the rest of the way with the shingled rail.
Full height shingled rail.
Mhm.
Is that gonna be, excuse me, kind of a tall wall? You know, it's right to the edge practically.
If it were stepped back a little bit, there would be an opportunity to bring a pitched roof up to it. And it wouldn't seem so big. You know, it wouldn't seem like a high wall.
Yeah. Because with such a short amount of roof that's remaining.
Yeah,
it
Well, in
comes-
that plan, if the deck were only the half the depth that it's proposed at.
It's gonna get pretty small, but it would do the job. And it probably is only about 6 or 7 feet wide here and maybe similar here. So. But there's a fair amount of roof in front of this side, not a great deal on this side. On the west.
No, if the deck line were somewhere in the middle between the eave and the house wall, there would be enough room to pitch a roof and make that wall feel really short. Maybe even to where the half sawbuck thing is shown.
So I'm sorry, say that again, Angus.
If the depth of the deck was only, halfway between the second floor wall and the first floor eave,
Yep.
there would be enough room for a pitched roof that would probably come up and hit that shingled wall, probably about where where that half sawbuck thing is being shown now. So there wouldn't be a lot of vertical wall of the
Yeah.
deck left.
But that's now where you're suggesting that they steepen the pitch of this whole porch roof. And it's gonna translate back into here. West, east.
We're not really in the business of fixing it, but I
I
think
know.
that there's an opportunity to enhance a flat roof, get a deck and make it look more appropriate than it's proposed.
Yeah, I think we have to be relatively general about this and say we don't like it wrapping around. We would promote the notion of smaller decks so you don't have to wrap it around. To break up the big deck into essentially 2 or 3 smaller decks. But and then for the railing, I'm not sure we're gonna get much traction on saying you got to re-roof all these porch roofs. So what's our sort of backup thought in terms of this railing?
well, they say it's on the application that looks like technically they're applying for that railing to be all natural to weather. I assume the crossbar part is going to be painted white.
Yeah,
I don't think they have to steepen the pitch everywhere to respond to this. Just something that's enclosing it. The volumes are so funky and random anyway. I think anything goes.
but this side, so if they've steepened this pitch here on the south, I don't want to get too nitty gritty about this, but now we go over to the west. This porch roof that slips through here continues over to here. And now it's going to override this, so they'll have to change this.
That far left window, it could stop there, right at that bump out. Yeah, there.
Yeah, I just don't think I don't think they're going to get it. I don't think they're going to buy it. Speaking of this elevation, I was also wondering, this platform where the AC thing is, I think you might see it slightly from an angle. Why not just run this right into the corner instead of having it really look like this projecting platform?
I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah,
In fact, I'd rather push it into the corner and get it away from that other window.
yeah. Right.
And I like the diamond window.
Yeah. Oh yeah, what happened to that? Right.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah, so we'd like to bring back the diamond window. All right, so I just still don't feel like we have a good consensus on this railing.
It's too much and it shouldn't wrap around. There's an opportunity with providing the deck to be able to mitigate the flat roof and let them sort out the details.
But what about the style? I think we have to say something. I'm not in favor of these angled.
In a vacuum like this, it's not appropriate. If they were going back to open porches and it's just a decorative gingerbread detail on top of the eave, that's one thing, but on top of a shingle rail is not appropriate.
So the railing
Agreed.
doesn't work. Just try something else. I don't think we want to get too involved in the details on this one either.
We just want to see it back.
Yeah. Try a different style. Okay, so I'm going to say, don't wrap the deck around, break it into smaller decks, and try a different railing. Because this one is just half of this thing isn't appropriate. We're also going to comment on the AC platform to move it into the corner.
And that window, that diamond Jeep window.
Yep, and bring back the diamond pane window. Is it conflicting with these windows? Is that the problem? Why did they do that? There. So maybe
Yep.
that's,
Johnny probably said he didn't like it. It wasn't original.
well, probably will. Yeah, so that our idea of moving that platform into the corner is going to conflict with these windows, this window.
Yeah, it's blocking the window anyway.
It's blocking it already. They'd have to make it bigger to not going to do that. We don't want them to do that. But we do like, so I'll skip moving the platform into the corner, not a big deal, but we do like that diamond pane window.
So what is that? Is that a natural skirt and then a natural water table and then natural plank boarding above covering it?
Down here?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, skirt, yeah. Yep, and then the deck platform and then a railing, basically solid board railing. Right?
I think that's okay if it's all natural. I would
Yeah.
wonder if any of it were gonna be painted.
Yeah, so I'll definitely say natural to weather. Boards at AC. Got it. Okay. And it's at a different elevation than the other deck, but they're separated enough to not get too fussy about that. Yeah, they're way separated. All right. Any other thoughts about this one?
Nope.
No,
That's it for our agenda items. There's a couple of things I wanted to bring up to talk about. And for some reason, I was under the impression that the HDC was going to be discussing some procedural business. Diane, have you heard whether, any of these items at the end of the agenda are going to be discussed tomorrow evening?
I don't think so. One is section 106, which is now me, the wind farm.
Right, yep.
Discussion of advisory board review. That's you. Review policy of demo move hearing in relation to new dwellings. And I don't know if it's going to come up, but the discussion of salvaging demos. And what we can do about saving this stuff and not throwing it out, which is it can be done to some other places, but that's all I have on other business for the meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know what the discussion of the advisory board review is.
Well, that's probably there because I wrote a letter a while ago to Ray saying that I wanted to have the HSAB and probably the other boards too, the other advisory boards, review every application rather than just somebody making a decision, well, this one goes to HSAB and these don't need to. Which
Well, I
is,
think that's a good idea.
it
I
takes
think,
it takes any of the politics out of it. It takes any like guesswork, whether it's going to show up or not. And I just don't, I can't imagine how there could be an excuse for them to say, no, we shouldn't send every application to the advisory boards.
I can't see why they do it either. I know that they have done that in the past of our consent. And the consent with the conditions, the consent is supposed to be done by the like Holly
Mhm.
and stuff, and now it's being done because she's busy by two of the members of the board of the HDC. So that a lot of stuff doesn't ever come to us, and when a remark is made, they say, well, we have to hurry up, we don't have time, we have to cut the meetings down, which I find inappropriate. Because stuff that goes, if something goes by, which already did this year, of wrongfully approved, the advisors approved it, but the HTC only saw it as already in consent and didn't think to pull it out. But who is responsible if it goes to court? Is it the HTC? Or our working board? I don't know, but I think that it would be the HTC in the long run in court.
Well, you do vote to approve it through unanimous, consent. You
Right.
vote. Yeah.
Right or wrong, we've approved it. And therefore I think this should be a consent, or as you say, to come to you. You don't have to spend half an hour on each one.
No, some of them we'd probably skip right over.
Right, but it would give us another facet of approval rather than just relying on two people who sit on the board and then vote on it.
Yeah,
So-
and I'm not even really talking about consents, although that probably does happen on consent now and then. I'm really talking about just regular business items. that,
Right,
For whatever reason, they don't get shuffled over to HSAB prior to the HDC review.
I don't know whether don't think we send this to HSAB most of the time. I think that's up to Holly and Esmeralda. But I think that we should do that and at least give it a try and see if it's a workable thing.
Yeah,
It covers us. It's gotten so crazy out there where that whatever good review we can get, we need.
well, that's my feeling. I think we're able to spend, a lot more quality time on these projects than the HDC can in their 10 minutes they review it. So
Right.
I would think they'd be happy to get our input on these projects.
Well, I think that they would be. It's no time off their tails.
Yeah,
So I would be absolutely willing to say, yes, I would think that's a good idea.
great. So the other one that I wanted to bring up was the review policy, and I'm not sure what the intent of this item is. Review policy of move demo hearings in relation to new dwellings. What I'm thinking it may be is that right now, and this came up last week for the 26 Washington Street building in town, that some people on the board wanted to review the new building, and John McLaughlin being in particular was insisting on this. I don't think he got his way, but he wanted to see the new building before they would approve the demolition of the old building.
Right,
And-
we did it together. We did it.
you kind of did it together, but my feeling is that that the decision to demolish a building or move the building, same thing, should not be made relative to the new building. In other words, if you're going to tear down a building, you make a decision whether that building is worth preserving or not. And then you look at the new application for the new dwelling. It shouldn't be, I like this one better. So, the new building looks a whole lot better than what's already there. So let's approve the demo. And that happened on Holbert Avenue last year or a year ago, 2 years ago. And so that was, to me, not the right procedure for deciding whether to demo a building or not. So,
Right, I think Johnny was going by the old thing, if you remember.
yeah,
That in the old historic district, that you didn't tear down and have an empty space without having a new approved building to go into.
well, so
I-
that's interesting, in that maybe just the way around that is to say the demolition is contingent on approval of the new, a new building.
Right,
But before you spend a lot of time on Holbert Avenue, you're going to spend several meetings, presumably, reviewing a project. But what if at the end you look at the existing house and you say, well, this is actually a historically relevant house. We're going to vote to preserve it. So you've wasted all that meeting time reviewing the new application.
right. It's a question, but if you remember 78 Union Street, up there, the lot, where they tore down Tony's barn and all that stuff, the lot was up there empty for almost a year plus. And the buildings weren't approved because the whole thing came in differently than what we supposed was going to happen when we approved the demo of 78 building there.
Mhm.
So I think that's why that has been followed. Somehow, if you could get the two things like you just suggested together, it would make more sense. Sometimes on our agenda, the demo will be first and then the house, and sometimes it's the house first and then the demo. It looks like basically it is a question of just how it happens to get entered or when it came in. But I think that you're right, and I think it's a hard question for us because most of the time the houses are not approved the first time. Sometimes they take 2 or 3 times. So if you put them together and looked at them as they would be placed and stuff, it would at least give us more information that we needed. So
Well, the gist of the emphasis of my point is that the decision to demo shouldn't be based on a new building. They should look at the historical, the age and the historical relevance of the old building before, decide whether that's worth preserving or not. And they can vote to approve it, and then they can move on to the new dwelling. Or they can vote to deny it, and then they don't even have to go on to the new dwelling. But they shouldn't, I just don't think they should even open the new dwelling application until they've thoroughly decided about the existing building.
Mickey, I think from the homeowner's perspective or the property owner, I think I agree with you. I think that you're doing a homeowner a favor by letting them know what the realities of their property is instead before they have their heart set on whatever they have in mind and go to the expense of an elaborate design. And then to find out that that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, quite often they're submitted in tandem. Here's the new dwelling, here's the demo application. But the more logical way to do it, as you're implying, is to just go in first with a demo application, see how it goes, and then you can design the new house if you get approval.
Yeah, and I think in the long run, that would probably make it more streamlined I mean, I think that, the whole process should be catered towards helping the homeowner getting the most appropriate results in the long run, and not have architects or designers coming in with these, designs that aren't going to go anywhere, and it wastes a lot of time. It wastes a lot of the client's money.
Yep. I mean, it's a very good point in terms of
I
the
think
client's
that's
perspective.
good. We just, when the applications, if they come in together, we have to tell our Esmeralda and Holly that they should go in with the demo first and then the new house all the time, not give it to us in the mixed
Well,
helter sort of thing, because then we're stuck with that.
that's definitely true, but I can already foresee that John McLaughlin is going to say, I'm not going to, which he did last week. He said, I'm not going,
Yeah.
I don't want to look at the demo until we've approved the new building, which, I'm saying is backwards.
Yes, it is. And so a lot of times, out of respect, Johnny's thoughts are followed, but that doesn't make them right. So if we try it and say this is the way it should be done, and we get most people to agree to this, because the members of the commission spend a lot of time going through this, and then still, the other day, we only got 6 things done, which was terrible. That was a Tuesday night too.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very good suggestion, and I think it's worth a try to have them listen.
I think it appears to me sometimes, and I could very well be wrong, but it appears that the clients, designers, architects are rushing to get things submitted because the process takes a long time. But because they're rushing to get stuff submitted, some of these ideas appear to me a little half-baked.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so it's wasting our time and HDC's time. And it's, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. I want to hear from Angus and Jason, what their thoughts are on these 2 things. The one's what was the first one? The advisory board. Maybe we covered that one, but everything going to the advisory boards regardless, and then the order of review of demo versus new dwellings. So, Jason, do you have any thoughts on these?
I don't know. I actually have to go because I gotta go pick up Nolan, and I gotta do something for work before I do that. So I kind of don't want to. I'm gonna reserve my comment for now because I don't think I can say it succinctly before I need to leave. I'm sorry.
All right, well, think about it, because this may not come up tomorrow night, and I just want to put it in our heads to start to get this out there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Angus?
I figured it would get sorted out along the way in my head about what do you mean everything, like everything on the agenda?
No, just within our districts, SAB would get every application that has Sconset on it, and
Why wouldn't we?
well, you don't.
No.
I mean, we don't get every application, especially
I-
revisions.
Well, I mean, I think that's a problem, and I think it's not just a problem that we're not getting it, but how the process is that people can miss the deadline for us and make the deadline for the HTC as far as revisions go. And so I think something in the scheduling has to sync up so that we're seeing everything.
Well,
I mean, so far
now,
that's been the excuse.
so these days, because the HDC is so far behind, we'll normally get to see the revisions if they're sent to us, just as a matter of course, because because of the delay. But if they catch up at the HGC, there may end up being that little window of opportunity that they can slip in the revisions before we get it on our agenda to review. And so I hadn't thought of that, but it's something to keep in mind in terms of the scheduling. But
So the short answer to your question is yes, I think we should see everything.
Yeah.
And then as far as the demo and what the phases of how things are proposed, the demo, I think, for that to be reviewed before anything else, I think saves everybody time and the client's money. It just is pointless to go through design review or design for the architect and then review for advisory board and the HDC before it's ever been decided whether the house should be removed or building.
Yeah, but I definitely think that that's a valid argument, and that's sort of a practical time saving and money saving thing for the client. But again, to me, more importantly, is to not color the decision about the demo application by looking at the new building first.
Right. No, the building stands on its own. It's not whether there's going to be something better or worse replacing it.
Exactly. Okay. I think we're all on the same page on those two items. The rest of these other business things on the HDC's agenda, I'm not sure I have any comments personally about them unless anybody else does.
Well, what about hardscaping? We had the lighting issue in on that last week.
I don't know what that's a pretty general topic they've thrown in there. I'm not sure what the point,
Yeah.
what purpose. Diane, do you know why hardscaping has been thrown in on this discussion?
No, except what constitutes hardscaping? Is it just the trees surrounding the media place or berms and stuff that are getting thrown up that aren't, they say that's not in the purview of the HDC? I think, and lighting is something that for some reason has been dropped, that I have been pushing and whatever to get it back, because it always was part of our landscaping and around the house, and it has been dropped and we've been told it's not in our purview, but it is in our purview. So I think hardscaping and the paving and the entrance, whether it is cobblestone or something, has come up recently a lot.
Right.
So I think it's a review as to what people think is in our purview and is not.
Okay. Well, that makes sense to cover that, kind of make that clear to everybody. All right. Is anybody, any other comments about these subjects? I think I'm willing to close this one out.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that, you are proposing that everything that is on consent for the old historic district must come through us before.
I'm not really talking about consent, because consent, I haven't noticed any problems with consent items.
Okay.
So I was really mostly concerned about really specifically revisions. I think we generally get most of the new applications, if not all of them. But it's the revisions that sometimes, for whatever reason, don't always get shuffled our way. And I know that Holly is pretty good, and I know Diane also is very good at making the motion, subject to HSAB review. But that doesn't always get said, and those make me nervous. So I think it should be a policy that doesn't even need to be said. They're just going to come to us anyways.
Okay. Thanks.
The other thing, just quickly, if you guys will read about the solar panel thing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. All right. So I've got that here on the screen. I know what you're talking about here, because I remember this coming up somewhere. I didn't get the impression, and I haven't read this recently, that it was the decision was taken away from the HDC, but they were being encouraged to approve them, but not removing them from the decision making. But I think
It's it is saying that if it's not seen on a public road and all that stuff that usually does, that it should be approved. But we on sometimes a solar panel is not, does not fit into the neighborhood. Like on one of our more active problems, you know, like on Mill Street. It should be the HDC's final decision of what is appropriate and what should be approved. It shouldn't be made a law that we have to do it their way, which is basically what that Article 80 says.
okay, because is that what it says? I'm not able to really read this clearly.
Well, that's what it basically said. That may be, it also shall be the duty of the commission to pass the removal of any building set forth in section 6 and the erection of any display of occupation on the side. That's just general stuff. It's further down that the HCC will consider the appropriateness, size, shape of building and structures in both relation to the land in which the building structure is situated and outside the town and its district, shall reasonably allow for visible integration of solar panels and renewable systems. And the commission may, in appropriate cases, impose dimensional and setback requirements in addition to those requirable by applicable law.
Okay, so
we-
they're saying shall consider the appropriateness of the size and shape of the building structure both in the relation to the and outside. Is the new construction or additions to consider the appropriateness? I mean, they're still saying the HDC shall consider the appropriateness.
Yes, but we do. Why do we need a rule, a warrant saying we should do it? They shouldn't be telling us, the HCC, what to do and how to do it.
It looks like they're saying and reasonably allow for the visible integration of solar panels. So it's sort of like an encouragement to be reasonable about the decision to allow them or not. If they're
Not-
marked as visible.
Not as a warrant, leave it alone. We have a very specific law on solar panels, not to be on the front elevation, to try and do it on side elevations, and it should be on a black roof. And it should be in the complete roof, not here or there, a loose solar group. And those are specific laws we have changed. We wrote a ground review for Bartlett Farm, 400 feet of solar panels. We did allow panels on Moore's End Farm, Sussex Farm, and on his house,
Mhm.
which was facing the street, but it was 450 feet back from the street. We
Mhm.
do all that. We don't need an article to tell us to do what we do.
Yeah. Well, I, for one, completely agree. You've got your, you've got your own way of looking at it, and I think it's an appropriate way of looking at it. You don't need encouragement or sort of pressure to do it in a specific direction. So I think it's an unnecessary article and probably
I think it was just start, as I said to Holly, and she agrees with me, it would just start that expression, the slippery slope down to the next people doing this and that. And what surprises me are the people that push the warrant forward, that
well, the
it's their
FinCom.
business. So basically, they're pushing their business the way they would like to see it done.
Yeah.
I find inappropriate with the HTC, which is business, is of trying to keep this island halfway historical.
Yep, yep. I agree. Does anybody else want to say anything about this?
Well, I was following this with the FinCom meeting last week, and I think that this is something definitely under the purview of the Nantucket Historical Commission and the Historic District Commission.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think it would make sense for the CLG to have a discussion about this at our next meeting and weigh in for the, what the CLG feels about this as a recommendation for the town to accept or not.
What's
That's
the CLG?
The
Seriously?
certified local government, that's the combined
Yeah, I
H.
know what it is. I just, sometimes all these little names.
Oh, sorry, Diane. No, that's the team of the HTC and the NHC.
Yeah. But I'm old,
Yeah, the acronyms get a bit.
Yeah, I'm with
You
you.
watch your tongue there, Angus.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great topic for the CLG. Hopefully we'll get to cover that one, but it's still just going to be a recommendation. The FinCom is really the one that gets published is the FinCom's recommendation.
Right, and Lucy scared me when she said some of the people on the finance committee didn't even know what the hell it was all about.
Well, yeah, one person didn't realize that the whole island was protected or under the, historically.
That's
And
pretty crazy.
Was he an islander?
Yeah, Stephen Morey.
Yeah. That's sort of crazy at his age that he doesn't know that. That's what I find.
It's
Well,
dark.
talk to Holly if you want some insights on the meeting. She made a good statement.
Good.
uh, Well, let's hope it goes. It just seems to me it's a continual push continually to try and keep what makes this place special.
Yep,
So,
it's hard these days.
yeah. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak.
I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
I think we're ready to go. Can I have a motion to approve the comments?
Yes,
Second,
All those in favor?
yes.
hi.
Lucy, Angus, and me, I'm in favor too. And a motion to adjourn at 1:57.
Yes,
Second,
By Angus, all those in favor?
yes.
Lucy, Angus, me.
Aye.
Yes. All right, thank you
thank
guys.
you, Nikki.
All righty.
Bye.
See you, Lucy. Thanks for
See ya.
joining.
Bye, Diane.
Okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.